Hey friends, welcome back to my kitchen. Today I thought I'd do a kind of fun video where we can talk and bake and just do a quarantine and bake with me. So if you saw my previous video, it was the quarantine grocery haul, you will know that I've been wanting to bake cinnamon rolls for so long now, I think 3 weeks now. And last week we had our weekly grocery trip. It was not the one that you saw, but the one after. And guess what? I finally was able to buy yeast. I finally was able to buy yeast. This is even fresh yeast. There was no more dried packaged instant yeast. But they had fresh yeast. I've actually never baked with fresh yeast, so I'm really excited. So I'm finally able to bake the long-awaited cinnamon rolls. So that's what we're going to bake today. And we're going to chat a little along the way. I want to know how you guys are doing and what you guys are doing. So let's start with the dough. Okay, so I'm currently heating up some oat milk with some coconut oil. I want it to be slightly warm so the yeast can easily activate. I'm not sure if that's what you're supposed to do with fresh yeast. Maybe I should have looked that up. But yeah, let's just hope for the best. Hopefully I don't kill the yeast. That has happened to me a few times, more than I would like to admit. So I want to know what you guys are doing during this time. Are you using this time productively? Are you doing creative things? What are you doing? For me, I have been kind of putting a lot of time into catchy cravings, into this channel, which is something that I really love and I truly enjoy so much. So I've been really happy about that. Also, I've been trying to do more things that I usually don't do as much as I'd like to. Things like reading. I've been really enjoying reading lately and getting creative, drawing, sketching, just things that I used to enjoy but kind of forgot or neglected. And to be honest, I am kind of, I would say maybe a workaholic sometimes. I just truly love doing YouTube so much that I put so much time and effort into it that I do nothing else. But yeah, it's nice to kind of take a break, take a walk, enjoy some reading. I'm actually currently reading 2 books. To Kill a Mockingbird, a classic that I haven't read, and the other is, I'm just going to turn this down and let this cool so I don't kill my yeast. And the other is this book called, I think, The Defining 20s, What You're Supposed to Do in the 20s. Yeah, and both have been super interesting, one fiction, one nonfiction, and I'm really enjoying it. And I already have books lined up that I want to read after these, so I'm really enjoying reading. I'm thinking of doing a video on just books that, for one, changed my life maybe, then also books that I just really enjoy, maybe fiction, maybe nonfiction. Let me know if you would find this interesting. I think that would be a really fun video for me to do. Add some sugar. This just really helps activate, or helps the yeast to activate. I'm still trying to let this cool. I'm, to be honest, too scared to put the yeast in too hot. I've just ruined things so often because I was too impatient to let this cool. So let me check. I might be a little too hot still. Okay, so it's been a while and the milk is lukewarm. I'm still a little nervous, but I think it should be all right. So I'm going to sprinkle in the fresh yeast. And then you're supposed to whisk this until it's combined well. Great. So now we're going to add the flour and shape this into a dough. Just going to add a little bit and then mix and then add more gradually. I can already see it bubbling. Also, while I'm mixing this, are you guys kind of baking or cooking more? It probably depends on if you're the baking or cooking kind of person, but I've just been, as I said, craving baking this specifically, but just like baking in general. I don't know, it's so much fun, and now I feel like I have a little bit more time, and I'm just really enjoying the small things that I enjoy on a day-to-day basis, but don't really take time out of my life to do, even though I enjoy it. I'm not sure why, but then when I wanted to bake, there was no yeast to bake, and I really wanted to bake something with a yeast dough. I was really sad for a while, but now I was able to get yeast, and this was definitely the highlight of my week, I would say. Oh wait, no, that's a lie. I've had some pretty fun indoor dates. For one, we did a kind of lasagna date on one night that was super fun, I think 1 or 2 weeks ago. Just going to transfer the dough. But as I was saying, for date nights, it's mostly about just spending time together and about doing something out of the ordinary. So for us, since we eat at home and cook at home most of the time, we kind of wanted to, for one, cook together, but then also we didn't want it to feel like just a normal dinner night at home. So we actually, this was my boyfriend's idea, I thought it was genius. We set up our smaller outdoor table by this window and in a different corner of the house. And it was beautiful. We lit a lot of candles. And then yesterday we also had a lovely date night. We actually did kind of like an indoor picnic. We set up a blanket on the floor. We ordered some pizza. Yeah, that was just really cool too. We played some board games. So I really love the fact that since you're being restricted, you have to be a little more creative with what you do, how you spend your time. There are definitely some upsides to this whole thing. For one, also just that there are not as many cars driving around. I feel like the pollution is definitely kind of going down during this time where people are staying home. And also you're kind of forced to be more creative and you're reaching out to friends and family more. So yeah, as I said in my other video about how to overcome adversity, it's kind of about looking on the bright side. There's always a negative side to things. So yeah, if you haven't seen that video, I'll link that right here as well. So it says you're not supposed to overwork the dough. So I think this is already nicely formed dough. So I'm just going to transfer it back into the bowl and let it rise for an hour. In the meantime, I'm going to utilize the time and read or maybe even wipe our floors because they are pretty nasty. Let me slightly oil this and then place the dough inside. I'm going to cover this and put this in a warm spot in the house. I'm not sure where that is, maybe here, and let that sit, and then I'll check back with you when the dough has risen, and then we'll continue on our baking process. Okay, so it's now 2 hours later and the dough has doubled in size. I'm not sure if you can recognize that. And now we're going to continue on with the delicious, or I think they're going to be delicious, cinnamon rolls. Now comes the fun part, I feel like, the filling and rolling it out and rolling it back together. So let's get started. So you're supposed to roll it out on a floured surface. I know this is not a surface that you're supposed to work on. This is actually my stovetop, but for demonstration purposes, I'm going to do this on my stovetop. Just going to lightly flour this and then tip out the dough. Ooh, this is so nice and bubbly. Yay, this makes me so happy that I didn't ruin it once again. And then roll this out. The only rolling pin I have is a rolling pin for Chinese dumplings. So yeah, but this works for all of you Chinese, Taiwanese out there. You know this well. I'm supposed to roll it out in a square. Hopefully this doesn't stick to my countertop. I'm not quite sure how thin or thick this is supposed to be. I think this is good enough. So what I'm going to do next is actually to brush this all with some melted coconut oil. Okay, then we're going to move on to the filling. So There is a recipe I'm going off of, and that is one from Minimalist Baker. I've mentioned her a bunch of times, I think even in the last video. I just love all her recipes. The ones that I've made, they all turn out so amazing. But I'm someone that doesn't follow recipes. I just take one and use it as inspiration. So I'm kind of just making up my own recipe as I go. And her recipe calls for, obviously, cinnamon and sugar, since it's a cinnamon roll. But I really want to add some ground almonds. I feel like, I don't know, there's this delicious taste to almonds. There is added healthy fat. And I think it will just make it really tasty. I'm not sure, I've never done this, but we'll try, why not? It's quarantine time, it's all about being creative and experimenting and doing weird things. So what I'm going to do first is just eyeball things. As I said, I don't go off of recipes. I'm just going to sprinkle this with some sugar. I want to be careful not to over sugar this. But then again, I've also, quick side story here, when I was in school, we have these bake sales, and I was always someone that really wants to be healthy, to not bake something really unhealthy. So I thought I'd cut back on the sugar, because sugar isn't, or too much of sugar isn't too good. So I cut back on the sugar and only put in about half of what the recipe asked for. And they turn out to be really plain. And I remember everyone at school saying that I was a horrible baker. And yeah, no one wanted my muffins. So I have learned that unhealthy things are delicious, so don't cut back too much on the sugar to the point where it tastes bad. So then I'm going to sprinkle this with ground almonds that I just bought at the store. I think that should be enough. And then I'm going to go really heavy on the cinnamon, because I love cinnamon. I put this in my breakfast every single morning. And I don't feel like there is such a thing as too much cinnamon. I'm going to spread this all over. Oh, this smells so good. Okay, I think this is enough. Hopefully this won't be really spicy because of all the cinnamon I've put in. So as far as I know, all you're supposed to do is then roll it up. Wait, let me just kind of disperse this a bit more evenly. Maybe I spoke too quickly saying that there is no such thing as too much cinnamon, because this might be too much cinnamon. Okay, let's just roll this up. So glad that this isn't sticking to my stovetop. Okay, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just going to cut and place this in there. Also, if I haven't mentioned, this is my first time making cinnamon rolls ever. Cinnamon rolls, or in Germany we have something called Nussschnecke, which is kind of like cinnamon rolls but with nuts, and I love that. That is one of my favorite things to get at the bakery. I'm curious as to how this will turn out. I'm a little scared and a little skeptical. And I'm going to brush it once again with some melted coconut oil. I guess I'm done now. I think I'm going to let this rise again for maybe 15 minutes or so. And then I'm going to put this in the oven. And then I'm really excited how it's going to taste. Hopefully eyeballing all that sugar and cinnamon was a good idea. So I'll check back in when they are out of the oven and done. So these cinnamon rolls are out of the oven and they smell so good. It is a little lighter than I thought. And as you know, with cinnamon roll, you usually drizzle some icing on top. But as I said before, with wanting to stay healthy, I'm gonna try it without and kind of see if it's good enough without icing, because, you know, sugar, not so great. So I'm going to get out a piece. The consistency for one seems really fluffy. So I broke off a piece and you can really see all the layers that it created. So I'm so excited. This is so good. The consistency is so nice and fluffy. It's incredible. I wasn't too generous with the sugar, and you can definitely taste it. This does not taste too sweet. So I think I will be adding some icing on top. So I'm going to quickly whip some up with powdered sugar and oat milk. So I added some icing on top. Let's see how this tastes. Yum, that was so delicious. I just finished that before I even had lunch, but that was so good. The consistency was so good. It was so nice and fluffy. I could have been a bit more generous with these sugars since it wasn't sweet at all. And also, I just remembered I added ground almonds, but I couldn't really taste it, so maybe I could have gone a bit heavier on that. The cinnamon is also definitely not too heavy. It could have even been a bit more cinnamon, but I'm so happy that I have so much more left to indulge on. Maybe I'll have a second one. That was so delicious. If you guys want to follow the recipe and make it properly, unlike me, then I'll leave the recipe down below. I hope you guys found this entertaining, a little escape from what's going on, and found this fun and are inspired to cook yourself or bake yourself. If you liked this video and liked me kind of rambling, chatting, then be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you have anything else you'd like to see, leave it in the comments down below. And I hope you stay safe. I hope you stay well and healthy, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.